Due to some violent content, parental discretion is advised.
Stand by to receive our transmission.
Hello, I'm Noel Ramos, and you're watching the IndieBlogg, the official video blog of the Independent Music Conference.
It's time for cool stuff.
Hello and welcome to the IndieBlogg for Stardate 1301.03. In this episode of the IndieBlogg, we'll be talking about self-directed living for independent artists, the relaunch of the Intermix Independent Music Magazine as the official magazine of the Independent Music Conference, and also about Noel's List, the new website I started recently that is designed to help independent musicians with recommendations and reviews of businesses that they might want to deal with, or in the case of somebody they think might be a scam or a little bit shady, we can check it out for them and give them a report. So we'll be talking about that in this episode of the IndieBlogg. Stay tuned, we're about to go to work. I was in a video consultation with Matthew Moran, who many of you know from the Independent Music Conference, who is a great musician and a business consultant as well. And we were talking about me, actually, my career and the things that I do to help independent musicians. And just he was trying to help me focus a little bit on it and figure out exactly what my areas of expertise are. And his description of what I do was interesting. He came up with a word he called surthrivalism, which I thought was interesting, and it had to do with my teachings, which are essentially DIY in essence, but not completely, because as you know, I don't really believe in do it yourself. I believe in doing it independently. There's no way you can do everything yourself. You have to assemble a team. So I'm not a big fan of the DIY abbreviation. It's misleading. What I often call myself is a scrapologist. I can take scraps of this and scraps of that, and I can cobble something together that does the job. And I try to impart that teaching to the students at the IMC. Some of you have heard me say before, if you can't find a hammer, use a rock. The results are what matter. Once you get the job accomplished, nobody's going to be able to say anything to you about how you did it. So Matthew was saying that I teach musicians how to go from survivalism to success. And I said, wait a minute, it's not exactly like that. It's more like learning how to turn survivalism into your success. And I've often spoken to you and other people at the conference about paradigm shifts. In other words, taking a look at your situation from a different perspective, trying to step to the left or the right or somewhere else and looking at it from a different angle. And if you can accomplish a paradigm shift and look at your life from that other perspective, you might find that you've already achieved success. You might find that you're already happy in what you're doing, that your current place is your success. So I try to impart the idea of taking your current situation and making that your happiness, making that your success. Because if you really boil it down, nobody makes the rules as to what is success. You do. You make your own success. You make the rules for what it means to you. Success is different for every person based upon what they're trying to do with their lives, what's important to them in life. And the example I was giving Matthew in our discussion was a gentleman who went on an experimental quest late in his life. He moved to upstate Alaska into the wilderness, and he built a cabin up there with his bare hands. And he spent 30 years living in the wilderness, living off the land, and doing everything as self-sufficiently as he possibly could. He didn't return back to civilization until he was 86 years old. And for him, that bare bones survival, that basic living condition, was his success. He was very happy to live up there on his own, hunting and fishing and trapping and growing his own food, cutting down trees, made his own log cabin. He even whittled the hinges for the door out of wood that he cut down. I mean, he did everything as self-sufficiently as he possibly could, and he documented the entire thing. There's a great show on PBS, and I believe it's called Alone in the Wilderness, which documents his building of the cabin, and there's at least 2 more specials coming up based on his living up there. He took all kinds of notes, and he took videotapes, well, movies back then. He used a movie projector, and it became a wealth of knowledge for naturalists and other researchers. So that was somebody who went to the extreme and took their situation and made it their success. And if you think about it, that was a huge success. He proved to himself that he could do it even at his age, that he could survive on his own in the wilderness, and that he could solve all the problems that he encountered up there with no power tools, no telephone, no television, none of the amenities that we're used to. A situation like that for most of us would be the absolute worst. That would be our nightmare scenario, far from our success. So that's the idea of a paradigm shift. If you could see yourself living the way he did, and if you could see yourself enjoying it and feeling that that was the pinnacle of life for you, then that's a serious paradigm shift, and that's what he accomplished. So that was his success story, and it to this day, it lives on. His legacy lives on. That cabin he built has become part of the National Forestry Park Reserve area. It's a huge tourist attraction now. People go up there to see the cabin he lived in. The Park Services takes care of it immaculately and keeps it up. And the specials that are running on television on PBS and the books that have been written about him since, is huge. His legacy is huge. So clearly it was a success story. So, if you could take your situation and turn it into your own success, then that's what I would refer to as self-directed living. You are determining your own state of being, your own happiness, you're determining your own future, you're determining what success means for you. And that's what I really like to get across to the people who come to the Independent Music Conference.
Well, the Independent Music Conference is different from other events in that it's geared towards independent musicians who are looking to market their own product directly to their consumer. So there's a strong focus on the educational aspect, the networking, the learning, the support, and there's less of a focus on the performance side of the event, which is mainly the element of other conferences. They stress the performance, they don't work as hard on the educational agenda. It is a music conference in the truest sense of the word conference. And in the music industry, that word has come to mean other things. And largely the other conferences have become performances. They're just big festivals, and it's all about the shows. I believe a conference should really be an industry gathering to learn and to network. So we're trying to get back to the root of the true meaning of that word at this event and turn it into a learning, networking, educational event.
Okay, now, as promised, I want to tell you a little bit about the relaunch of Intermix, the independent music magazine. As some of you know, Intermix was the flagship of pretty much everything I do. I started the magazine back in 1988. It was a regionally distributed print magazine for arts and entertainment, largely in Connecticut, and then we expanded quickly to New England, and eventually we started distributing it on the web. When the internet sprang up, we were one of the very first publications to go online in a graphic format. And all my publisher friends told me I was crazy. They said, you're gonna go out of business, the web's gonna put your print magazine out of business, and the web's gonna destroy print publications. And clearly that didn't happen. Lots of print publications are still thriving, and there is a very strong synergy between print media and web media. But, you know, obviously it has had an effect, so they weren't completely wrong, but the landscape of the media has changed. So what we're doing now is relaunching Intermix as an online publication. It will be a PDF document, which we've been doing all along in conjunction with the print, but now it will be online only, except for certain special editions which we will release for the conference as the official directory. And that's what we also used to do. So we're going to start that up again too. So the main thing is to check out intermix.com, and I'll put the URL on the screen for you. And look at the magazine and advertise with us. I mean, we'd love to talk about you. We'd love to talk about your business. We'd love to talk about your band. We'd love to promote you to all the people who read the magazine. We have traditionally had between 11,000 and 30,000 downloads of each issue, so that's pretty good for a small magazine like ours. But it probably has to do with the fact that we've been around since 1988, so we've got a little bit of a track record. I'm happy and proud to be bringing the magazine to you once again. We've been on hiatus for far too long, and I miss doing it, and I'm really excited about bringing it back. So that leads me into my next website, noelslist.com, NOELSLIST.com. And noelslist.com is going to be a resource for independent musicians who are either having some trouble with a business they're dealing with or are thinking about dealing with a business that they're not sure of. It will be a way for you to check it out, get a report from me on the business, see reviews and recommendations written by other users of the website, and basically it will help independent musicians rate and refer businesses they want to deal with. There's too many times that I'm asked to check out a website or check out a company that somebody's thinking of dealing with because they're asking for money, or that, you know, they don't know if the service is actually useful or not. And I think that keeping all of that information in one place in a searchable, database-driven website will be very convenient for everyone. I'm using Ning to power the site, and Ning allows you to create basically a blog type website, and that makes everything in there searchable, so you can go in there and put in a keyword, and if somebody talked about it, it'll pop right up and you'll be able to check out all kinds of stuff that we've been talking about so far. So please join. It's only $4.95 per year. If I get enough people signed up, I'm going to keep it really low because I don't want it to be an expensive resource. It should be affordable. But that means we need a lot of members. And the more members we get, the more resources we'll have because you guys will start to add to the database. So try to spread the word for me, get a lot of independent musicians in there, and noelslist.com can become a very powerful tool for you. We'll see you at the next IndieBlogg. Take care and keep making music.
Transfer complete.
Do not hug me.